This video is brought to you by Skillshare. The first 500 people to sign up with the link in the description will get a 2-month free trial. Hey Wisecrack, Jared again. South Park creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker sure do make us laugh. But they make something else too. A metric crap ton of money. It's a tale as old as time. Create a stop-motion animated Christmas card, nab a Comedy Central series, a movie, an Oscar nomination, yada yada yada. Enjoy a collective net worth of $800 million. Yet, despite being an ad-supported business, like some other people we know, South Park has never been afraid to bite the hand that feeds it. So let's take a look at how Stone and Parker lampoon the financial world across 4 of our favorite South Park adventures. Cash rules everything around us in this Wisecrack edition on economics in South Park. In Gnomes, the sleepy town of South Park readies itself for a classic David and Goliath battle. A real showdown between massive corporate coffee chain Harbucks and the homegrown mom-and-pop coffee shop Tweak Brothers.
You see, I own a coffee shop, and now a great big multi-million-dollar company is going to move in and try to take all my business, which means I may have to shut down and sell my son Tweak into slavery.
South Park challenges our natural bias toward the little guy by demonstrating, hey, sometimes the little guy is actually a total asshole. And in South Park, this particular asshole isn't above keeping his own son hopped up on caffeine or exploiting children for the media if it helps his business stay afloat.
It's time to stop large corporations. Prop 10 is about children. Vote yes on Prop 10, or else you hate children.
The very notion that a small business might be driven by impure capitalist motives is a message we're not used to hearing, and the townspeople of South Park aren't ready for it either, which is why the Tweak and Harbucks rivalry is neatly stereotyped as just another innocent family business versus
a big fat smelly corporate guy from New York.
In fact, throughout the episode, most arguments in favor of big business are immaturely shouted down, not with reason or facts, but, well, with immature shouting.
Oh, pardon me, Mr. Assface. Anyway, let's hear your side of the argument.
So, who's the real bully here? Gnomes demonstrates how bald-face appeals to emotion can be used to disguise the cold, hard mechanisms of profit.
I've got one for you. How about doing a report on how large corporations take over little family-owned businesses?
Although he may be a staple of the community who charms people with his folksy marketing, Mr. Tweak proves himself to be an even more cutthroat capitalist than his rival.
Kids are great to get people on our side.
You don't just throw a child in a political commercial to sell your beliefs.
And it isn't long before the preteen protagonists of South Park become convenient pawns in his agenda, as they're forced to pass his anti-corporate words off as their own.
And as the voluminous corporate automaton bulldozes its way through Bantam America, perhaps there is no stopping the corporate machine.
Without knowing much about Mr. Tweak's true business practices, or even about the superior quality of the Harbucks coffee,
It doesn't have that bland, raw sewage taste that Tweak's coffee has.
the people of South Park demonstrate a programmatic response that boils down to simply small business good, big corporation bad.
It's people like you who are ruining Main Street USA!
That's right!
And does it matter if the big corporation is actually an ethical business and if the children in question are foul-mouthed hellraisers?
This guy sucks ass.
No, it doesn't. And that's thanks to a principle called the backfire effect, which says the presentation of any new and contrary information will be dismissed outright if it threatens your basic belief structure. Try arguing with people on Facebook about politics. We're confident you'll change their minds. The Gnomes episode of South Park lampoons this idea of hardwired biases by demonstrating small businesses, just like small children, can be just as scummy as their larger counterparts. They're just not as prolific about it. Because, after all, as the underpants gnomes of the episode adorably demonstrate, both small and large businesses are geared towards making a profit, even if there might be some ambiguity about the path toward that objective.
Hey, what's phase 2? Phase 1, we collect underpants. Yeah, but what about phase 2? Well, phase 3 is profit, get it?
Where the Gnomes episode satirizes exploitation of children for emotional sympathy, Cash for Gold satirizes the exploitation of the elderly for massive profit. And how better to demonstrate this con in action than by way of the Home Shopping Network? In this episode, Stan learns his grandpa has routinely fallen victim to television scams that are draining his retirement funds. Meanwhile, Cartman's rank opportunism drives him to take advantage of those same scams to feed his insatiable greed. From these two angles, Cash for Gold examines both the predator and the prey through the lens of value theory. There are different theories of value out there. You've probably heard the kind dictated by supply and demand. But value might not necessarily be a financial value, but instead be rooted in social, emotional, or historical value. And much like financial value, these alternatives can be situational and fluid, hinging on a variety of intrinsic and extrinsic factors. Let's take a look at some examples. After Stan's grandpa gives Stan a bolo tie that was bought off the TV for $6,000, Stan almost immediately learns that the very same tie is worth $15 at the local appraiser.
I'll give you $15.
What?
Then, after pursuing third and fourth opinions, Stan watches the bolo tie diminish in financial value right before his very eyes, until it's worth no more than a 7-layer burrito at Taco Bell.
My grandpa paid $6,000 for something barely worth anything. How does something like this happen?
To answer Stan's question, this episode introduces us to multiple forms of value, beginning with the market value displayed on the Home Shopping Network. As Dean, the Home Shopping Network host, uses his authority to convince his elderly viewers they're getting amazing deals, those same viewers reliably line Dean's pockets, even though what he's selling is, in the frame of material or resale value, pretty much a piece of crap.
Look at these stunning earrings. These are genuine faux sapphire earrings. 14 karat gold, 86 karat faux sapphire.
This disconnect is the very mechanism that drives any great scam: high perceived value married to low actual value. Where a purely labor-oriented view of economics might consider the work that went into producing an item, South Park here exhibits a more nuanced idea, one that proposes value is determined not by quality or by effort of production, but by the nature of supply and demand. And boy, does Dean know how to drive and exploit that demand.
At that price, you practically stole them from us. Ouch!
And later, when Stan urges Dean to commit suicide,
Yeah, hi. You should kill yourself?
Dean is able to conceptualize his life's work only in the monetary figure it might draw in a lawsuit: $2.7 million. For Dean, there is literally no useful value beyond the financial frame of value, just how much cash he can squeeze from people's wallets. However, we clearly see the impact of emotional value when Stan's grandpa tells the story of his dog.
Billy, did I ever tell you I used to have a border collie named Patches?
Yes, Grandpa.
I loved that dog. She always made me so happy. When she died, I didn't let myself get too sad because I thought I'd always have the memory of her slobbering happy face. I can't remember what she looked like, Billy.
Through this monologue, we learn Grandpa's reckless purchases have little to do with the perceived market value of the items in question. No, Grandpa is trying to add emotional and historical value to himself by creating memories and sentimental connections that will last long past his death. Elsewhere in the story, we learn these fluid and disparate notions of value call into question the true value of nearly everything. We see the perceived cultural value of an Academy Award evaporate, as it's simply melted down to be resold in new forms. Stan's gift to his grandfather, a framed photo of Grandpa with his beloved dog, arguably has astronomical emotional value, but low market value.
Thank you, Billy. That means a lot.
And Grandpa's $6,000 gift to Stan is ultimately written off as being
F***ing gay as f***.
Dude, it's f***ing gay as f***.
But just how loose is that relationship between labor and profit? That question sits at the foundation of Go Fund Yourself, an episode in which the South Park kids launch a successful brand that doesn't even bother to put a business behind it.
A startup company? A company that does what?
No, we don't want to do anything.
In fact, the official slogan of their company is
Washington Redskins, go f*** yourself.
Their business, which ultimately calls itself the Washington Redskins, draws its success from the bastardization of modern Kickstarter culture, accepting monetary donations in exchange for no effort at all.
Another $2. No way. Sitting on our asses, here we come.
Throughout the episode, South Park suggests that, in the advent of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, the success of a brand or company can now be rooted purely in its appearance rather than in its function. One of the central arguments of this episode is that what a business does is less valuable to that business than the relative power of its brand. When Stan sets off to find the perfect startup name, this moment carries more import than any objective pursued by Cartman's leadership.
It's the greatest startup company name ever. What? Tell us. Washington Redskins. I'm pretty sure that's taken, Cartman.
The episode's thesis mirrors an argument made by philosopher Jean Baudrillard, who argued in 1981's Simulacra and Simulation that all previous definitions of value had been woefully inadequate. Baudrillard's work presented that value isn't determined by how much work has gone into making something, or by the nature of its materials, or by its overall usefulness. No, value is determined purely as the appearance of value. In other words, according to Baudrillard, an item or brand is only valued as it exists as an image in relation to other things that are also images. Value, then, is determined only in the relationship that exists between things or among a set of things. Through this frame, it's more important for a business to have a great brand than it is to make great stuff. It's more important to be trendy for investors than it is to make fat stacks of cash. Uber being worth billions of dollars while still losing billions of dollars? Yeah, Baudrillard more or less predicted that decades ago. In Go Fund Yourself, the South Park kids take this concept of value to absurd heights. Much like the protagonists of HBO's Entourage, they embrace the idea that the ultimate success lies in not doing anything at all. Just
Start up, cash in, sell out, bro down.
But we still gotta love them because, like so many in the real world, the South Park kids are just squirrels trying to get a nut. Today's economy is awash with side hustles, independent contractors, and guest lecturers. But economic power lies not with them, says South Park. It sits with the fat cats at the top who know how to work the system with minimal effort. Or does it? Ultimately, the kids' Washington Redskins venture is left in shambles because of the brand's missteps on a social issue.
There's nothing sweet about a people who are decimated.
Here, the episode argues that a business built only on aesthetics has nowhere to turn and no foundational beliefs to hold to once public opinion turns against it. It turns out even a business that does almost nothing can be threatened by doing or saying or being the wrong thing at the wrong time. In South Park, that outcome leaves our young entrepreneurs fated to the worst punishment of all.
I guess we gotta go back to school.
Scratch that. There is in fact a worse punishment than going to school, and it arrives at the forefront of the episode titled You Have Zero Friends. This episode examines the absurdities of our growing social media economy. As in the Cash for Gold adventure, South Park here tackles head-on the true meaning of value.
Looking around Facebook today, we see that since adding loser Kip Doherty as a friend, Kyle Broflovsky's stock is plummeting.
Are our friendships and social worth measured by our likes and Facebook connections? Or are they determined by the interactions we share in what the cyberpunk community derisively refers to as meat space? From the outset of the episode, our protagonists stand side by side in the meat space and debate their respective levels of social status as quantified solely by their collections of online friendships.
Don't have any friends.
In this framing, Facebook friendships, like money, create an easily measurable hierarchy of personal value.
I don't know what to do. I just can't seem to get my friend numbers to go up.
The truth is, as long as you have that Kip Doherty loser as a Facebook friend, people view your friendship as a liability. You gotta dump him.
Cartman, unsurprisingly, sees relationships not as intrinsically joyful, but as status symbols by which to elevate some people over others. If this calls to mind Baudrillard again, well, it should, because in his work The Consumer Society, Baudrillard warned that instead of enhancing life, a transactional approach to relationships leads to an individual lack, since everything possessed is relativized in relation to others. Cartman's troubling view of relationships begins to infect even Kyle. When Kyle's digital farm is depleted due to economic hardship, he turns to his longtime meat space friend Stan. But even after Stan has offered Kyle his real-world support, all Kyle can think about is how much his own social media cachet must be suffering.
I'm just so confused. I really need a friend right now.
Okay, dude, I'm here for you.
Okay, so then get on Facebook and fertilize my crops?
Shortly thereafter, Kyle drops the sweet but socially toxic Kip from his own roster of Facebook friends in order to salvage his own social standing. South Park asks, who are we really when our online presence outweighs our real-world engagements? Wendy insists her relationship with Stan be validated on the internet, and even Randy doesn't believe in his connection with his own son until Stan agrees to add him on Facebook.
So I'm not your friend then?
Dad, you are my friend.
But you just don't want to add me as a friend?
Dad, it's just a stupid click of a button that takes 2 seconds.
Right, but you don't have the 2 seconds or...
In our reality and in South Park, this disjunction between our digital and real-world lives threatens to place a greater premium on our digital behavior, and it makes our physical life seem less significant and less like an experience.
I'm your profile, and as you can see, I'm much more powerful than you.
Perhaps that's why Kyle pushes back against friendships with real people like Stan and Kip, when doing so means preserving his digital status. And while everyone else is trying to pump up their digital lives at the expense of their meat space lives, poor Kip is desperately trying to force his digital friendship into the meat space world by taking his laptop to the movies. But the argument in favor of cultivation of an online brand is as simple as it is daunting. Although it may not be as authentic as the quote-unquote real you, your profile, your cyber influence casts a much wider net than you do alone. So whatever will you do with all of that incredible power? Hey, here's an idea from your very close friends at Wisecrack. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace. Like many YouTubers, we often get asked how we make our videos, which programs we use, and how we learn to use them. Many of us are self-taught here at Wisecrack, and these days you can learn just about anything online. If you've ever wanted to start a project or learn a new skill but weren't sure where to begin, Skillshare can help get you started. Skillshare is an online learning community with over 16,000 professional and easy-to-understand classes in design, photography, business, and more. Whether you're already a creator or you're looking to become one, you'll find like-minded people with steps and advice on how to take your ideas to the next level. You can take classes on everything, from bookbinding to introductory HTML to how to shoot a movie on a drone. And if you've got a skill you'd like to share with the community, you can teach a class as well. A premium membership starts at just $10 a month to get you unlimited access to the full range of courses. But the first 500 people to click the link in the description will receive a free 2-month trial to Skillshare and all its resources. So head over to skl.sh/wisecrack to begin your 2-month free trial and get learning. You can download their mobile app and take classes no matter where you are. We can't wait to see what you create, and don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss what we create. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch y'all next time. Peace.